All through our history, the people of this country have shown a special genius for being able to sink their differences in the face of national danger. This family spirit has always been our particular strength, and combined operations is simply the expression of this spirit in terms of modern war. In our particular strategic situation, both in Europe and in Asia, the only way we can get at our enemies is from the sea. Now, an assault from the sea has always been considered a particularly difficult and hazardous undertaking. And this was so even in the days when soldiers traveled comparatively light. But a modern army cannot fight without great quantities of armaments and supplies. And to land this army with its armaments and supplies requires a large and specialized naval force. And this large naval force, in its turn, cannot operate inshore against modern defenses without strong air support and cover. And so, land, sea, and air forces are all interdependent. This is especially true during that most critical period, the actual landing on enemy-held beaches. It is then that victory or defeat depends on the degree of cooperation between the three services, and the success of any combined operation ultimately depends on the rigorous and detailed training which all arms have received in the technique of amphibious warfare.
We're going to invade. To invade, we must be tough. Explosions must not frighten us. The whine of bullets over our heads must not stop our advance. Death will be our familiar. We must deal it at long range or hand to hand. We must stay alive ourselves. We must be tough.
But more than that is required. An invasion by the combined forces of the Allied nations isn't a simple thing. To accomplish it successfully, everyone must know his job. One man doing the wrong thing can easily upset the whole operation. He won't do the wrong thing if he's been properly trained. At a combined training center, airmen come under the care of instructors from all three services, Navy, Army, and Air Force. They must become airmen sailors and airmen soldiers. They learn to recognize and to understand the uses of their special craft. The landing craft assault, the landing craft tank, the landing craft mechanized, the landing craft infantry, and many others.
Invasion. That's the goal of all our endeavor. And the way is over the sea and maybe through the sea. So we must be at home on the sea and in it. We are taught how to row Navy fashion, rough on the hands and seat, but useful. In fact, it's the finest way to get handy in boats of any size. Learning to row is the foundation of good seamanship. We're given Mae Wests and try them out with full equipment. It's a pretty convincing proof that we'll keep afloat however loaded up we are when we fall in. Pack, boots, waterlogged battle dress, tin hat, it makes no difference. We'll float and get ashore. May be wet, but better wet than ever.
Beach groups mainly composed of Army and Navy personnel, but with the addition of an RAF element, will be landed with the assault force at an early stage. Their job is to organize the unloading and handling of stores. The special job of the RAF members of these groups is to help in getting RAF equipment, ammunition, MT, and petrol to the right places quickly. The stuff mustn't lie about the beach. Their training teaches them the quickest ways of getting themselves and their equipment ashore and into action.
They taught us to be something like sailors. Now they're teaching us to be something like monkeys. We shall be using these scrambling nets a lot, getting out of the big ships into little craft. It'll probably be at night too, so we practice scrambling blindfold. The great secret is to stick to the same vertical ropes and not to get your hands trodden on. After all this practice, we feel we shall be able to cope pretty well when it comes to the real thing, even though the boats will be pitching about and there'll be a cold sea underneath. Just in case we have time for 40 winks, the Navy teaches how to sling hammocks. The sailors say it's quite easy to stay in these things. What have sailors got that we haven't?
Every man must know exactly where to go when he lands. Beach signs are used to direct units and individuals to their areas. Their meanings must be explained and memorized. The RAF regiment must have complete training in the use of their aircraft weapons. They will have to defend the forward airfields both while they are being constructed and when they become operational. The sky over the landing beaches will be full of mixed aircraft, ours and the enemy's. So the aircraft gunners must be red hot on recognition. They must learn to spot their targets with certainty and precision. Lectures and films play a great part in their training. In action, there may be only a second or two in which to spot an aircraft and decide whether or not to fire at it, and mistakes are expensive. One of the most important RAF units to go ashore are the signals. They form a very high proportion of the whole RAF strength. Their job is vital, and they must have time in which to set up. This is a slow, painstaking job at best. Signals people too must train. Practice with their equipment till they can get their radar and communications working in the minimum time. Until they are set up, the detection of enemy aircraft and the control of our own will be virtually impossible.
All of us who have anything to do with vehicles are taught to waterproof them. We get the whole works, of course. First of all, fuse box, distributor, high-tension leads and plugs. Then the air intake, which must be carried well up above the waterline. Petrol filler caps must be sealed, and the breather inlet must be led up the side of the vehicle. All ventilation and other holes must be made watertight. The radiator must be covered. External batteries which feed signals apparatus must be removed. So must any other external apparatus which might be damaged by water. Even doors must be sealed up. We're always surprised that the vehicles don't float after all this, but at any rate they go through the test tanks like amphibians.
And there's another important bit of practice for drivers, loading onto landing craft. The second driver signals with his arms, and the driver backs blind in accordance with the signals. The loading time has been cut down from 3/4 of an hour to 10 minutes after practice. Yes, training's the thing.
We all go into the show knowing our jobs and how they fit in with the whole big scheme. At the end of our course, we do a full-scale landing exercise with live ammunition. We are ready now, ready and keen for the real thing to start.
And the real thing has started in London. The men on the training course don't know it yet. It's a big secret, but
the general plan is for an attack simultaneously between here and here, with the object of obtaining a port and airfields from which to maintain and support the army. The enemy has 4 divisions distributed along the coast and some 5 divisions in concentration areas some 50 miles inland. The enemy air fire forces are on airfields near the coast.
The Navy's task is the safe arrival of the assaulting troops on the right beaches, in the right order, and at the right time. We shall, with the assistance of the Air Force, protect you on passage and give support with gunfire during the approach, up to and during the assault.
The Allied Air Commander is satisfied that the necessary degree of air superiority can be maintained during the operation. Shortly before D-Day, the light and medium bombers of the Tactical Air Force and the heavy and medium bombers of the Strategical Air Force will attack those targets that have a bearing on the operation. These will include communication centers and those enemy airfields within enemy fighter range. The attacks will be spread in time and space in order not to disclose the precise point of landing. The convoys will be given air cover and anti-submarine protection both by day and by night. Photographic reconnaissance of the area has already begun.
Combined operations must have accurate information of the enemy's dispositions, his fortifications, gun positions, and troop movements. All this is vital information and may change from day to day, so the mosquitoes of the PRU have a full-time job. Patiently and accurately they cover the area, taking overlapping photographs which can later be built up into a composite map. Back at base, the negatives are speedily developed and printed off. Experts fit each overlapping print to the next, and in the end, have before them a complete mosaic of the area. Model makers build a relief map from the photo mosaics and other available information, a job which takes time and skill. And this is only one amongst the thousands of jobs which the RAF contributes to a combined operation.
the operation is beginning. It may be weeks yet till the great convoy sails, but already vehicles, equipment, and men are on the move. On the RAF side alone, the supply of equipment is staggeringly large, and with it must come men to handle it and keep it serviceable. Ammunition is one of the greatest items, and that means bombs of all sizes and millions of boxes of cartridges and cannon shells for the fighters, the bombers, and the ground defense. From underground storage caves all over Britain, this great weight of destruction comes to the ports to be loaded, and piling up behind it is a mass of vehicles and equipment of all kinds, both Army and RAF. Hundreds of tanks rumble in for waterproofing, and RAF transport too. And this time there is no training about it. This is the real thing.
The ships begin to arrive at the loading points. Correct ship loading presents several problems. The things that will be wanted first during the assault must be loaded last, so that they come out first. It'll be too late to repack when the force is at sea.
Signals vehicles, for instance, the brain and nerve of the Air Force. They must go aboard last, so as to be amongst the first to come off. Supplies of petrol will be wanted soon after landing, so they too must be loaded according to plan.
Activity is not confined to the loading points. At aerodromes near the coast, fighters are concentrating. We must be sure of air superiority.
Albemarle aircraft and Horsa gliders for the airborne troops are brought up to top pitch. For parachutists and glider-borne troops are to be launched against certain objectives. Only the best is good enough for the men who are going to make parachute jumps by night or land gliders in enemy territory. And so their parachutes are carefully checked and their life-saving equipment is overhauled. The long months of training are coming to their climax.
Coastal Command are patrolling the sea lanes, and aircraft of all types are hunting down U-boats with depth charges and rockets.
Hundreds of thousands of men have by now arrived at the ports. The troops have some idea where they're going now, but some of them aren't security-minded yet.
I've got all the gen. Got it from the CEO's runner. We're going to invade the Baltic.
No. Wonder what the beer's like in Russia.
Russia? Don't talk rot. I've got the pucker gen.
Now at last, most of the equipment is loaded, and it's time for us to go aboard. We're taken off in drifters to the infantry landing ships, big vessels in which we're going to make the main part of the voyage. Here's where that training on scrambling nets comes in useful. From the moment we embark on the LSIs, we use a special method of moving about, so that we always know where we are, and won't be disorganized by darkness, rough seas, or anything else that may happen.
Men wait. They can do no more till the word comes through from London.
Gentlemen, you all know the general outline plan. The division is to attack with 2 brigades forward, using Able Sector and Baker Sector. A small diversionary raid is to be made in the port area. The intention is to capture the port by an enveloping movement from Able Sector and Baker Sector. The beaches and port area are to be attacked simultaneously under cover of naval ships, support craft, and aircraft. If the wind is suitable, smoke will be used to cover the initial landings and to screen the guns on the flanks. We have rehearsed the actual assault so often now, I'm convinced that the troops know their detailed tasks minutely. And now perhaps the RAF will give us an outline of their part in the operation up to the present.
Well, gentlemen, so far the air effort has gone according to plan. 7 days ago, the heavy day bomber effort was concentrated on the forward airfields. The enemy was forced to react, and in doing so, not only did he lose a number of fighters in the air, but on returning to his airfields, our fighter bombers and light bombers caught him on the ground. As a result, he has evacuated his forward airfields and is operating at considerable handicap from further inland. The night heavies have attacked those targets previously selected at an earlier conference and approved by higher command. This action is continuing with particular attention to communications, railheads, supply dumps, and concentration areas in order to prevent the free movement of the enemy's reinforcements. The targets asked for by the Army for direct support have all been accepted, and these will be dealt with at the appropriate time.
Morning comes. The men are waiting, the ships are waiting. All eyes are on the headquarters ship from which the signal to go will be flashed. It is here that the naval, military and air force commanders of the expedition have their headquarters. From this vessel, the close control of the operation will take place. Below decks are plotting tables, interception tables and the radio, that all-important link between all units. Here the Navy, Army and RAF controllers sit and wait.
With shore leave cancelled, I suppose it'll be off soon, won't it, Sandy?
I think this afternoon, all right.
Oh, good show.
Under the immediate control of the headquarters ship is the fighter direction tender, a vessel specially fitted for control of fighter aircraft, a job which can best be done from a vessel separate from headquarters ship.
Are we going to move today, Jack?
I think it's pretty certain.
I hope to hell you're right.
Now the only hold-up is the weather, the one thing that can't be controlled. But though it can't be controlled, it can be forecast. It is as though every man was holding his breath so as to hear the word that the Met officer will speak. And the word is,
Weather favorable.
convoy is at sea. Now it is vulnerable to enemy attack from the air, from the sea, and from under the sea. Shore-based bow fighters work to the limit of their range in a ceaseless aerial patrol which is controlled from the fighter direction tender.
Hello, Snowman Leader. Begonia here. Are you in position? Are you in position? Over. Okay, over. We've taken over the bows. They're in position.
That's fine.
Meanwhile, the intensive storming of the enemy coast, which precedes the assault, is being carried out by medium bombers. This final softening up will reduce enemy opposition to a pulp, but it has its disadvantages. The devastation wrought on the beaches may be so great as to hinder our advance seriously, but that is a chance which must be taken. Our Mediterranean operations have proved that aerial bombardment is an essential preliminary to a successful seaborne landing.
Away over the horizon, far out of sight of the convoy, Coastal Command is busy clearing the sea of the few remaining U-boats. On many a British aerodrome, it is 0 hour for the airborne troops who are to land by parachute deep in enemy territory. Their tasks are to paralyze his interior communication lines and to hinder in every possible way the movement of troops to the area under assault. Working on the same tasks will be glider-borne troops. For them, too, there is a careful last-minute briefing. Then, all details settled, they pack into their aircraft.
The coming of night brings no relief from ceaseless activity. On countless flying fields, our heavy bombers are making ready in the gathering darkness. Their targets are not only the landing points, but also rail centers, factories, and power stations. Their objects are to hinder the bringing up of reinforcements, to keep enemy troops and aircraft away from the assault areas, and to maintain a shattering attack on enemy morale.
Mosquito intruders are out as well on this critical night, shooting up enemy aircraft as they circle their own airfields. When this night's work is over, the enemy may well be dismayed at the small number of serviceable fighters left in it.
Bombers are over their targets now, and one after another, they make their run-ups and drop an avalanche of high explosives on the enemy.
The paratroops are over their dropping zones. Only a few seconds to go.
Stand by! Jump!
Almost at the same time, the gliders arrive over their targets. For several hours, the glider pilots have been watching their tug aircraft with strained attention. Now the gliders are released. The sudden quiet warns the men that in a few seconds they will be touching down. For the airborne troops, this is the beginning of the night's work.
The convoy has steamed all night. Now, in the cold hours before dawn, the infantry landing ships heave to near the enemy coast to lure their assault craft. The movement of the troops into the assault landing craft is smooth and efficient. Every moment of their training shows its value now. They know what to do and the best way of doing it, in what order to embark, how to avoid chaos and panic in the darkness, and create instead order and fighting efficiency.
Well, it's the brown job's turn now, you blokes. We'll show you a trick or two.
Good. By Jove, there go our destroyers.
The daylight is coming. The great convoy is in enemy waters. This is a moment of great danger. The convoy's vulnerability to attack from the air is now at its peak. We must maintain overwhelming air superiority. Fighters take off. bombers take off. Smoke-laying Bostons take off. The assault is launched under cover of an immense air umbrella.
The aerial and naval bombardments have done much to neutralize resistance on the beaches, but the final blows will be struck from the assault craft, struck with self-propelled artillery, struck from the rocket ship, and later with hedgerows and mortars.
The first wave of our assault has cleared the beaches. Our infantry landing craft have touched down and are followed by tank landing craft crammed with troops and vehicles. We've got to put up direction signs at once. We mustn't hold up the lorries. We've got to make a practical road through the sand with Summerfelt track.
Amongst the first vehicles ashore are the signals. Until their radar is set up on land, there can be no security from enemy air attack. And so in this early phase, it is doubly important that all vehicles and stores get clear of the beaches as quickly as possible. Until signals are set up ashore, control must depend for his information on the pilots of the Tankar Mustangs.
Well, Bill, can your boys bust tank formation? Charlie George, 264.
1 moment.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Hello, Nomad Leader, Sinclair here. Tank formation, Charlie George, 264.
The radar is established, and the light warning system is in operation, just in time.
Hello, Nora Leader. Hello, Nora Leader. Begonia here. Bandits approaching from northeast. Range 26 miles. Bearing 040. Crack 'em down, chaps. Over. Hello, Nora Leader. Begonia answering. Think Angels 15. Advise you make 20. About 15 bandits closing now. Range about 18. Over. Hello, Bridge. Hello, Bridge. Prepare to take over the party.
Okay, Control. Taking over. Hello, Nora Leader. Hello, Nora Leader. Begonia 2 calling. See bandits northwest of you fanning out and closing. Turn to port and intercept. Hello, Control. Hello, Control. Bandits on the run.
Now that the beaches are fairly safe, we can go ahead with unloading the inflammable and dangerous stores such as petrol. We take all this stuff ashore in folding boats. Then it has to be dispersed inland in the dumps, which the beach group people have already marked out for us.
Forging ahead to capture ground suitable for an airfield. Until a forward airfield can be established, our air superiority will be costly. Lack of fuel will prevent some of our aircraft from returning to their distant bases. An emergency landing strip can be scraped out near the beach early in the operation, but it is only a makeshift on which hard-pressed pilots can crash land. Until it is ready, ditching is the only alternative, an unpleasantly wet and dangerous proceeding which involves sitting in a small rubber dinghy, cold and seasick until the air-sea rescue launch arrives.
The site for the airfield has been captured, and 1,000 new tasks confront the soldiers and airmen who must make it a serviceable landing ground. Large-scale leveling work is carried out with bulldozers, scrapers, graders and rollers, which have been brought up from the beaches. Ack defense of the airfields is immediately established by the RAF regiment with their Hispano cannon.
Once the ground has been leveled off, it's no more difficult to make a runway than it is to lay a carpet 1,000 yards long and 50 yards wide. Except that our carpet is made of heavy steel wire mesh, and our tin tacks are iron stakes 4 feet long. So we have to have a lot of special equipment, and about 500 lorry loads of summer felt track. That's the wire mesh that the carpet is made of. All this is bound to attract the enemy air force, so we dig trenches for ourselves. Some distance away, our blokes are making a decoy airfield, so that Jerry can waste his bombs on sticks and canvas, rather than use them on our runways.
By now, the whole area between the beaches and the limit of the advance has become a vast equipment store. Dispersed and concealed over many square miles are the essential reserves of ammunition, spare parts, oil and petrol on which the servicing commandos depend to keep their squadrons in the air.
The RAF regiment is preparing for a long stay. The gun sights are constantly on the alert and must be established on a more permanent basis with telephone lines which put them into communication with control.
The airfield is almost complete. Not long ago, this ground was in the hands of the enemy, but now hundreds of us have sweated to turn it into our airfield. Even before it is finished, our aircraft are overhead waiting to touch down.
This, then, is the culmination of many months of effort. Men have been trained, ships have been loaded, bomber, coastal, and tactical aircraft have flown thousands of hours, parachutists and airborne troops have done their work, landing craft have been launched against hostile beaches, a tank battle has been fought, and an airfield established on the ground that the Army won. This is the culmination. And yet it is only the beginning. Very soon our aircraft are ready to go into action, and they have not long to wait. From the forward air link comes the information that sends the men of the Royal Air Force into the skies again to hammer the enemy and to shield their comrades in arms below.